Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining me this morning. I hope you are well. Morning, Michael. Thank you for dropping in a message saying you're here. Morning, Bob. Great to see you. Michael's over on Facebook. Bob's over on YouTube. If you can't see each other, that will be why. Thank you so much for joining me today for day 2 of the Cheltenham Festival. I hope you had an awesome day at the festival yesterday and are looking forward to day number 2. So before we get started, I'm just going to go through a little bit of housekeeping. And the first thing is, if you are on Facebook, hi on Facebook, please make sure you hit the like button just below this video and the share button. Share it with any friends you've got. And also then drop me a comment below. Drop me a comment below saying hi, saying you're here, getting involved in the chat. And that's where that is on Facebook. If you're over on YouTube, please make sure you're following our YouTube channel, subscribe to that channel, and of course hit that like button, hit that share button. Please let other people know that you're enjoying what's going on at the Race Advisor. And if you're on YouTube, over on this side of your screen, I think it is this side here, you've got a chat bar in there. Please drop any messages, any chat, say hi, let me know how you're doing, let me know how you did yesterday, let me know what you're looking forward to today, let me know if you've got any horses you've already followed or bet on, let me know if you're thinking of any that you might want to bet on. Just let me know, basically. Come and say hi and let me know. Let me know how you're doing, let me know who you're following, let me know which horses you like. It's absolutely awesome to be here. Yesterday we had a good day. Our Honeysuckle obviously won the race we were looking at, but that was fine because we decided to structure the bet with a break even on Honeysuckle, so we didn't make any profit in the win market, but we got the place. And if you continued with me into the little bonus I did at the end with the AVB, we got the AVB market bet as well, so a nice little profit should have been made yesterday on that race. Let's see if we can do that again today. Morning, Philippe. Thank you for joining. Paul, Ben, Will, Eric, another Philippe. Thank you so much for joining. Great to have you here. Now, for those of you who don't know who I am, my name is Michael Wilding. I am the founder of the Race Advisor, and today we're going to be looking at the feature race at Cheltenham, of course, today, and that's the 305 Betway Queen Mother Champion Chase. It's a Grade 1 race, 1 mile 7 furlongs, 10 runners, Class 1. Current ground is good to soft, and obviously this is going to be a chase turf race. So this is the race we're going to be looking at today. We're going to get stuck in right now. Morning, Angus. Thank you very much for joining us. One last thing before we get stuck in. As I mentioned yesterday, we got builders kind of around the house. So if you suddenly hear this loud like dug 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 noise, that is because they're probably knocking down the back wall of the room that I'm in, or something like that. If I disappear, that will be the reason why. So apologize if there is any kind of loud noises that kind of interrupt us. We're going to be running for around about 30-40 minutes or so today. That's the plan. Looking at this feature race, digging in, seeing what we can find, and seeing what horses we like. Scott is already telling us that the ground is quicker than that at the course today, quicker than good to soft. It's great to know. If you have any tidbits, if you know any pieces of information like this, please do drop them in the chat. Let us know. We are also, just so you know, I haven't looked at this race yet. This is completely fresh. I've not looked at it at all, and I like to do that so you can see exactly how I'm looking at it, how we're digging into it, what we're finding as we go in. So let's jump in. Let me bring up the race for today, and let's see what's going on. So here's the race for today. Now, I should also say, if you are seeing this in a small screen, if you hover over that screen, you can maximize it to take up the full screen. So make sure you maximize it to take up the full screen so you can see what I'm doing. Also, you can change the quality. Facebook doesn't always set the quality to full HD. There's a little kind of cog, a settings cog icon somewhere overlaying on this video at the bottom, probably on the right-hand side. There's a little settings cog. If you click on that, you're going to get the option to change the quality. We're streaming this in full 1080 HD, so you can see all of the numbers and everything really crystal clearly. So if it's looking a bit fuzzy, it may be because you've got that setting not at full HD, because your Facebook will try and work out how fast your internet connection is and give you the best setting it thinks. So make sure you got it set to full HD, make sure you got the screen really big, and make sure you drop a message in the chat or in the comments to say hi, let me know you're here, let me know which horses you're following today. Morning, John. Thank you very much for joining this morning. Okay, so the race is the 305 at Cheltenham. It's the one here. Scott's already told us that the ground is quickening up. It's currently declared as good to soft, but apparently it is already quickening up according to Scott. So we're going to take that into account as well. Now, this race is a 1 mile, 7 furlongs, and we're going to follow the similar process that we did yesterday. So we're going to start by kind of stripping out the clearly bad horses. We're going to then come into finding the contenders, and then from the contenders, we're going to work out how we're actually going to be betting on this race. So that's the basic structure that we're going to follow. And we're going to go through a number of race cards. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to switch back to the standard race card. If you're not a Race Advisor Pro member, this is what Race Advisor Pro looks like inside. This is what the race card looks like. This is what the standard race card looks like. We've got lots and lots of ratings. You can make custom race cards if you want, as many as you like, but this is the standard one that we get. That's why I like to start here. If you are not yet a Race Advisor Pro member, please make sure you are on our email newsletter, our daily newsletter. And I say daily, it's sometimes every other day or whatever, but make sure you're on that newsletter because once a month, I'll hold a horse racing success workshop and webinar. And if you join that, it explains exactly how we teach profitable betting at the Race Advisor and what's included in the software and the training and the support, everything there. And then I open up a few spaces at the end to join. There will be another one towards the end of this month. So make sure you head to raceadvisor.co.uk/join RA. Let me just drop that into the chat for you so you can see it. Just make sure you're on that newsletter. I'll let you know when we're opening up registration to the workshop. It's a free workshop. You can join. There's no obligations. And then we'll open up a few spaces to join Race Advisor Pro. Okay, so we got the race open here, and I'm going to start by sorting Betfair odds, very similar to how I did yesterday. And we got this one horse down here, Green Teen, right at the bottom. Let me scroll up a bit. Right at the bottom here, Green Teen, currently odds of 50, so 49 to 1. Actually, literally just dropped out on Betfair to 60s. But I'm going to remove that horse. I'm going to eliminate that horse, and I did that simply by clicking on this little X next to it, just here. Clicked on that. Horse has been removed to the bottom. We do this. I know this is now available on a number of pieces of software. We were the first to ever implement this because it's just a way that we can slim down the race cards, slim down the horses that we're looking at, and it follows our process of analysis. What other sites won't tell you is the reason for doing this. And the reason for doing this is that we want to eliminate horses first because it's the easiest thing to do. It's far easier to find the bad horses than the good horses. So let's eliminate them. Let's remove them from our vision and focus. The quickest way is using the odds. Personally, I don't like going above odds of 29 to 1. Doesn't mean horses aren't going to win. I've said this before. Horses above 29 to 1 are obviously going to win occasionally, but for me, they just don't win often enough to make it worthwhile betting on them. So I tend to cut them out. And so that's what we've done here. That's the quickest way. Now, in yesterday's race, we actually managed to get rid of quite a few. I think it was 2 or 3. Today, obviously, there is currently only 1. And this is also a really good indication of how competitive a race is likely to be. So we're expecting this race to be quite competitive, but obviously there is a significantly shorter favourite than the rest of the field. We've got Cheltenham, if I've pronounced that correctly, currently sitting at odds just above evens, whereas the next best horse is 10 to 1. So there is this big gap. Our job is to see whether this horse is actually as strong comparatively as the odds are saying. So I'm going to start by looking at the PR odds. The PR odds are our tissue line. If I click on any horse's PR odds, which is in this column down here, you can see we get this overlay highlighted in orange to the right. Now, this is where we calculate our own odds lines. We get the score we give each horse, is the probability that score converts into. And we can see that actually we are currently agreeing with the market that this probability we've given Cheltenham, if I pronounce that wrong, please, someone correct me, please. And thank you for dropping in the horses that you like. I'm going to come back to that. Drop in any horses that you like. Drop that into the chat, the comment area please. So thank you, Graham, for dropping that in. Thank you, Mike. I'm going to come back. I'm going to share all of those and go through them as well. And also, any questions on anything I'm doing, please make sure you ask. Just ask those questions. I'm going to come back at the end and answer them. So that's also absolutely great. Any questions on what you're seeing today, ask away. Any questions you've got, burning questions that you've got about horse racing, please ask. If I can answer them, I will. But we can see we're giving a 38% to this horse up here at the top. And then there's a massive drop down. If I saw in order of this probability, so there's then a massive drop down to Put the Kettle On, who I believe Michael has just said he is actually following, and then all of the others are pretty close to each other. We've got 9%, 9%, 8%, 7%, 7%, 6%, 6%, and a bit of a drop off here to Notebook at 3.6%. But this leader we have as stand out. Now, interestingly, we gave the raw odds, and you can see that over here on the right hand side, the raw odds we gave to this horse of 2.6, current odds 2.08. So it's a bit shorter than we would expect, but that is often what happens in a field like this, where you've got a very heavy favourite comparatively. So I'm going to remove that overlay. You'll also notice in this PR odds column, a lot of the horses are highlighted in green. This means that there is potential value in their market odds at the moment. This means that there is potential value betting on this horse on Betfair at the current odds available. Doesn't mean the horse is going to win. Just means there's potential value sitting there. And when you see a field like this, where we've got one horse significantly higher probability than the rest, generally we see most of the field has potential value, because actually the market has shaped towards that front runner, and kind of the other odds are higher than they should be. But obviously we're looking at this slightly differently. This is festival racing. This isn't standard racing. This is festival racing. And at festival racing, we tend to try and find the winner, because we don't have the long term. If you've got a horse that shows up here as part of your long-term portfolio, part of your long-term strategies, follow it in exactly the same way you would if you're just looking at Cheltenham Festival as something that's good fun, it's entertaining, you want to spend a few quid just having a good time watching the races, maybe betting in all of the races because you want to watch them, you want to enjoy it, it's entertainment. Our focus shifts from long-term profit to finding the winner, because we haven't got the time to get that long-term profit. It's only 4 days, so we're not going to find that long-term profit, so we focus on trying to catch the winner. So that's an important difference between long-term betting and festival betting, where we're just trying to have a bet in a bunch of races because we want to enjoy it, we want to watch it, we want to be part of the festival like that. So it's two very different approaches, but still our aim is to walk away with a profit at the end of the week. That is our aim. That's what we want to do. Okay, so coming back to the race here, obviously this horse, Chacun Pour Soi, is currently market favourite. Next, we are giving, there isn't really anything to differentiate the rest of the field currently. So I'm going to move over to the 5, 2, 7, 8 column. We've got horses 1, 2, and 4. I'm going to just highlight these here. Number 3 is actually one that we excluded. This is a kind of a comparative rating, and 1, 2, 3, and 4 generally win between 52 and 78% of the time, dependent where in that, it depends on the race conditions. But that's kind of the range. The winner will come from here 52 to 78% of the time. Now, I'm just highlighting these. Doesn't mean I'm going to bet on them, but I'm just highlighting them as possible threats. Now what I'm looking for is possible threats. Days since the last good race. Nothing particularly horrendous here. The worst is 103 with Rouge Vif. So nothing particularly horrendous here. Rouge Vif has also got a tongue strap on today. You can see that there's a little T just above Rouge Vif's name. That indicates the tongue strap. If I hover over it, we get the actual headgear that it is. You can see at the bottom here, oh wow, Salaus Emery, I believe is the name. It's got a little H, and if we put that on, you can see that that's a hood. So we can see exactly what the horse is wearing here as well. But nothing really standing out for days since last good race. Now I'm going to skip across a bunch of the rest. I'm also going to skip across the speed figure. I'm going to look at that somewhere else, but I'm going to come to good races in the last 10. Now, first of all, Put the Kettle On is there, really important, and First Flow. Notice they're already highlighted green because they are 1 and 2 at the 5, 2, 7, 8 factor that we just marked. So that's kind of an extra bit of confirmation that they could be strong. Interestingly, Chacun Pour Soi is kind of sitting down here, 7 out of the last 10. So not as good as the leaders in this field, but in the great scheme of horses, 7 out of 10 races being good is very, very good. Sco Royale, kind of not so good, dropping down here to 6. Looking at WH, this is kind of a probability for win history. We've got, unsurprisingly, the leader in the field again, jumping right to the top, Shakun Poursoy. Please, will someone let me know if I am pronouncing that name correctly? I really have no idea if I'm pronouncing that name correctly. Eric, thank you for your message. Race Advisor Pro is currently closed to new members, yet only at the moment it only opens once per month, and the reason for that is I like to give everybody who joins the maximum amount of time possible to make sure they are familiar, to get the strategies working for them. We work very much on a personal basis with our members to try and make sure that we find you the way of making a profit that works for you. Just make sure you get our daily newsletter at raceadvisor.co.uk/join-RA. There will be a horse racing success workshop at the end of the month, and at the end of that workshop I will open up space to join RA Pro. So just make sure you register a seat for the workshop, and then we will offer anyone who joins the workshop the chance to actually join RA Pro as well. So just make sure you have your name down for there. There will be one in a week or two towards the end of the month. Philippe, thank you. Chacun pour soi. Chacun pour soi is how I'm supposed to pronounce it. I do pronounce it wrong. Okay, I'm going to go with Chacun pour soi. Thank you very much, Philippe, for correcting me there. Much appreciated. And again, thank you for everyone who's putting their selections in. Please do put your own selections in the chat for this race. I will come back to it at the end, see if you match what I'm thinking. Let's see how we do. This is a community effort. This is a group effort. Let's do this together. I'm still not pronouncing it correctly. Okay, I'm going to go with Chacun pour soi unless someone tells me different. Okay, coming back to the race here. The WH, this is a rating that measures win history. Okay, and I'm going to go through this quite quickly, but it's just a way we measure the probability of a horse winning a race, but we take into account something called time decay, which effectively means the longer ago a horse's performance, the less it counts towards the score the horse gets. So a race that took place 3 years ago will only count a tiny amount towards the score today. A race that took place a week ago is going to count a huge amount towards the score today. So that's all that means. But obviously, Chacun pour soi is the highest here. That's what we would expect. Then coming down to First Flow, which is interesting. That's a horse we've already got. Then there's a big jump. So there's a big jump between Chacun and First Flow. So we're looking for these break points. Again, we mentioned this yesterday. We look for break points between horses. The top group, the middle group, the bottom group. There's a big break point here between Chacun and the next horse, which is First Flow. Then there's another big break point between First Flow and Notebook. You can see that here, 0.45 to 0.2, 0.2 to 0.1, and then there are no more big break points. We get 0.10, 0.9, 0.08, 0.07, 0.06. It just flows down nicely. So those two are kind of sitting there strongly. We already had these two highlighted. So far we've got Chacun, First Flow, and Put the Kettle On. All of these have had more than one confirmation, with obviously the edge being towards Chacun as the most likely horse to win. Sco Royale, we've only had one potential indication, the 52 to 78 CFR rating. That's not enough for us to want to follow this horse, but we're going to keep it highlighted for a little bit longer. Next, I'm going to actually jump to a different race card because I want to get some extra ratings today, because this race is going to be tough. This race is going to be tough. We can see that immediately. This race is going to be tough. Okay, so I've just jumped to a different race card. This race card's got more ratings on, and this is just a custom race card that I've made. I use it a lot in these live streams. There's a lot of ratings on here. I don't recommend having this many ratings on the race card. You only need between 5 and 10. I put this many on here, so I've got everything in one screen so that we can cover a lot of ground faster doing the live streams. But the first thing I want to look at here is this PFP rating. This is a kind of a collateral form rating. You might be familiar with this if you see me do live streams. I use it quite a lot. And we can see, interestingly, it's another difficult name, Salaus Emery. I'm going with a sus sound for that scene instead of a hard sound. I don't know if I'm right, but I'm going with it. We've got 1527 dropping 1526, 1526, 1526. So again, quite similar here. We get a little bit of a break between Put the Kettle On and Politolog. Interestingly, she comes now near the bottom. Now this doesn't necessarily mean, it's not necessarily a bad thing, because it just means this rating falls behind. There's a bit of a lag type on this rating. A horse needs to perform well continuously for this score to increase. It makes sure that the horse is improving rather than going, this horse has done really well in the last race, we're giving it a massively higher score. It actually waits 2-3 races before it starts to increase to confirm that that wasn't just a lucky race, that's, you know, something outstanding happened. So it doesn't necessarily mean a bad thing, but potentially indicates some area of weakness for Chacun sitting down here. Now, we're going to check that on Speedgross, though. Now, I'm going to look at these two AC ratings. That just means it's a competitive score. And again, interestingly, Chacun's near the kind of bottom here. First flow, put the kettle on nicely near the top, and we've got a couple of new ones up here. Rogue Viv Notebook sitting up here as well. Notebook's now drifted out. You can see drifting with the pink arrow. That horse has drifted out. The only horse that's come down is Chacun, who's now dropped from just above evens to actually just below 1.9, sitting at 1.89. The odds on that horse are getting very, very slim. Now, if we look at the average competitive speed factor, again, put the kettle on. We're seeing up here, Rouge Vif again, Notebook again. Speed being a important but not super important in a race of 1 mile 7 furlongs. So just remember that. Now, interestingly here, actually, Humphrey, thank you for that question. I'm just going to drop Humphrey's question up here as I go through. I am going to come back to all of the messages, and I am going to come back to all of your selections as well. I'm going to show them, I'm going to share them, I'm going to see who we think, but I don't want to influence my decision yet. So I'm going to come back to those. But Humphrey, thank you for this message. Do I keep a note of these? I actually just do this in my head, but that doesn't mean you have to. Grab a piece of paper, make a little note next to each horse on a piece of paper, whatever. It doesn't matter. Just make a little note. There is no limit to the positives or negatives. What we're looking for is an understanding of the race. We're understanding the race, which horses are strong, which horses aren't as strong, where the strengths lie, where the strengths don't lie. This gives us a picture. This is what we want. We want a picture. We're like artists here when we're trying to dig into these races. We want a picture of the race and the runners within the race so that we get an idea of the risk. We are always going to find the winner. There is almost never a single horse that is the only horse with a chance of winning. There's always horses that have chances of contending, and what we are trying to assess is the risk, and are the odds that we're being offered worth the risk of the bet? That's the question we're asking. We shouldn't be asking which horse is going to win. That's a mistake. Don't ask which horse is going to win. Ask which are the strongest horses, and which of the strongest horses are we getting odds that make the risk of placing the bet worthwhile? Those are the two questions we actually want to ask, not which horse is going to win. Hope that makes sense, but do put it on paper. I recommend you put it on paper and don't keep it in your head. To be honest, it's much easier, it's much clearer, and you don't have to go back over things. Put it on paper is a much better way of doing it. It also cements your own thinking when you write it down on paper. So just make a quick note, make a quick jot, put a tick next to the horse's name, whatever you want to do. It doesn't matter, but put it on paper. So speed, we're coming back to average competitive speed again. Chacun's near the bottom, so we got a few negatives for this horse. So while we started looking super strong, we now got a few negatives. I'm not going to go into consistency, but I am going to go into speed figures because I love speed. I love speed. You just got to be wary of not putting too much emphasis on it in this middle distance race. But the one that I'm going to focus on actually is, first of all, the average speed over the last 90 days. And we can see here, actually, interesting, this horse again, a Cilios Emery, however we pronounce it, is kind of near the top. Sco Royale coming down just behind. Not a huge amount. Chacun kind of sitting in the middle. So that gives us a little bit of confidence, again, that this horse is actually doing decent speed. Put the kettle on again, sitting in the middle. First flow, a little bit lower. But nothing kind of too horrendous here, generally speaking. Looking at speed on the current ground gives us a slightly different picture, but again, put the kettle on, Chacun, Sco Royale, all there. Ground possibly not as good for first flow if it's good to soft. We're going to dig into that horse's form in a moment anyway. So we got a little bit more here for Chacun, Sco Royale, put the kettle on. We've seen some of the other horses now drop in, Rouge Vif, Notebook a couple of times, and Cilios Emery, if that's how I pronounce it. First flow, we got a few concerns about now, kind of over speed, but generally not too bad. Now, the next thing I'm going to look at here is horse strike rate. Now, obviously, Chacun, if I sort in order of that, Chacun is near the top with an 86% strike rate. But actually, first flow with a 56%, put the kettle on with a 53%. And these are all very, very high strike rates. Even Sco Royale at 39% is very good. However, in a race of this class, that's obviously significantly lower. But 50% is really, really very, very strong. But what I want to see is these, and I talk about these quite frequently, PFP points. Last race, last 2 races, last 3 races, last 4 races. That's what the LR stands for at the end. LR, LR2, LR3, LR4. What we're looking for here is we want these to be increasing. So we see this horse has improved over the last race, the last 2 races, the last 3 races, the last 4 races. And I want to see this steady increase like we've got for Chacun. 1.99, 4.18, 5.16, 6.86. This shows a steady increase in form, collateral form. We've got the same for First Flow. We've got the same again for Put the Kettle On. Not quite as high figures, but the same again. And we've got the same as well for Sco Royale. In fact, we've got the same for most in the fields, but these are actually interesting, the 3 strongest. Nube Negra is down here as well, showing improvement. Rouge Vif, not so good. And Notebook, not so good. So, and they are, of course, the higher odds horses, as it turns out as well. But this is also another confirmation that Chacun, First Flow, Put the Kettle On, Sco Royale, all looking good horses. And actually, we have other competitors, Ciaos, Politolog, and Nube Negra, all possibles there as well. So this is going to be super competitive. So where do we go from here? What do we do? Let's look at speed graphs quickly, okay? I just want to take a look at the speed graphs. So let me just drop these in. Now, remember this race, Chase Turf, good to soft, 1 mile, 7 furlongs. Now this graph is noisy, isn't it? It's really, really noisy. And let me make this full screen so we can see it. This graph is really noisy, but it goes back to 2016. But what we're going to do is we're going to start by looking at Chase Turf, good to soft, good and soft. So I've gone either side. I'm not going to put any distance in this time. I'm just going to apply that filter to see what we're left with, because we're not left with overly huge amounts of races. I'm going to come back here. And we're just looking at all, and we can see from this graph instantly, we can see these horses are pretty well matched. I mean, look, they're all within a pretty slim width on this graph. They're all kind of next to each other, with each other. So what I'm actually going to look at first, I'm going to look at these figures here in brackets next to each horse's name. This is a dynamic speed figure. This is a speed figure calculated based on the settings that we just put into that filter. That's what these are based on. And we can see they're all kind of pretty close. There aren't any huge standouts. The highest is, in fact, is Ciaos Emery, the highest speed figure here. But then we got Politolog, Sco Royale, Put the Kettle On. Now, interestingly, Chacun is again a bit lower. So we're seeing there are some potential weaknesses here. You can see Chacun is kind of sitting in the middle here. So it's looking good. Is it looking 1.89 good to me at the moment? Not really. Doesn't mean it's not going to win the race, but it's not really looking like a 1.89 chance horse. But maybe we're missing something. We might be missing something. Outside of this, we got Ciaos Emery kind of looking here. We had a bit of a decline. We've had a bit of a decline here for Rouge Vif, a bit of a decline here for Notebook. In fact, most of them have declined kind of recently, but that's fine. That's kind of normal. We saw this yesterday. That's kind of the pattern, really. We get a small decline and a small increase. And if I expand this back out, you're going to see a bit of this pattern here. Decline and then jump up. Decline, then jump up. Decline, then jump up. So we're expecting the same to happen today. I'm going to zoom in a bit closer to their most recent races here. Now, let's just take a look at Put the Kettle On. Put the Kettle On is this orange horse in the middle. And again, it's here. So, again, looking competitive, looking nice, but nothing hugely standing out. First Flow, again, looking competitive, looking nice. But actually, we've now got others. We've got Ciaos to throw in here. We've got Sco Royale already in. We've got Green Teen. That's the one that actually the odds are too high. So we've removed that. But this horse obviously potentially has some chance as well. Notebook. I mean, they all look like really threats. There's none that are standing out. There are none that are low. Okay. So let's just jump back a minute. Sorry, I'm going to do one more thing, actually, before I leave that speed graph. I'm going to do one more thing. Let's just look at it without any filters, and let's just zoom in on these horses. And again, look, we can see the same thing here. Chacun up here put in a really good race. So if this horse comes back, great. potentially we're going to kind of come back up to this really good race. That was on softer, heavy ground, though. But we're going to look at potentially coming back up there. But actually, Sco Royale really wasn't that far behind that horse either. Neither was actually Green Teen. So some of the others a little bit further behind, but not massively. Okay, what am I going to do next? Next, I'm actually going to run. I'm going to look at the pace next. Let's come to pace. Okay, so pace is our next search. This is predicted to be true, same as yesterday. So we're looking for a leader or an early presser. You can see here in Race Advisor Pro in the software, we've got this predicted race pace to be true up here. If I click on that, we get a couple of sentences that explains what that pace actually means. What does this pace mean? I'm not going to read through it now, but that's there for all of our Race Advisor Pro members, so you don't need to understand pace straight out of the box. It tells you what it means and what you're looking for. Pace is true. We're looking for leaders and early pressers, generally speaking. So I'm going to click, this pace icon. It's this little horse icon. I'm going to click that. I'm going to sort by total pace column, because the total pace column tells us what the predicted pace for today is likely to be like for each horse. The running style tells us whether that horse has a preference for the position. So we can see here we've got Rouge Vif and Politolog likely to be leaders in this race. But now sitting behind that leader, we got First Flow, put the kettle on, kind of mid-pack. Sitting there mid-pack as well, Notebook 2. Then we got a bit of a jump down to Noob Negra, Sco Royale, Chacun pour soi. Okay, I think that was right. Who we're actually kind of expecting to be near the back of the field. Now, notice, however, Chacun has we've not been able to score Chacun pour soi on pace here, 0-0-0-0. Notice that, because that's important, because this means that we can't be actually hugely accurate on this horse. This horse could well be mid-pack early presser. So based on that information, First Flow possibly prefers to be the leader, but if the jockey rides him well, may sit nicely behind. So possible threat, but maybe not the perfect position. Put the kettle on, likely be in a position that this horse likes, mid-pack early press. So potentially could be there. Rouge Vif and Politolog likely to be the leaders. Now, because they look to be slightly weaker horses in this race at the moment, if they lead, they could actually tire themselves out, set the race up nicely, give a nice pace to those early pressers. That's kind of what I'm expecting to happen. So I wouldn't really want those horses. That gives a little bit of a frame of reference. So what I'm going to do next, I'm going to run a Monte Carlo simulation on here. I'm just going to do all the standard settings. I'm not going to go into all the custom stuff. I'm going to use it as standard. We're going to let that run and see which horses come out from that Monte Carlo section. Now, there are some awesome comments here. If you haven't yet dropped in who you like in this race, please do. I'm going to come back that to the end, see if we agree with each other. Do you agree with me? Do I agree with you? Are we thinking of the same horses? Please do drop that in here. Once we've done this Monte Carlo simulation, I'm going to take a quick look at some of these horses past form. Then I'm going to jump over to Betfest. So I'm going to run a little bit over today. It's probably going to be another 15-20 minutes here, looking at the race, coming back to your comments as well. Any questions that you've got, please do also put those in. This simulation is about to finish. Again, this simulation is part of Race Advisor Pro. If you're not yet a member of Race Advisor Pro, please make sure you're on our newsletter. Head to raceadvisor.co.uk/join RA. Let me put that in here for you again, so you know where to go. Make sure you're on our newsletter. I hold a horse racing success workshop webinar once a month at the moment, and after that webinar, I will open access to Race Advisor Pro for anyone who came to the webinar. So please make sure you're on our newsletter. I'll let you know when registration is available to join the webinar. The webinar is completely free. It goes through kind of how we teach, what we do, because Race Advisor Pro is not for everyone. It is for people who are seriously want to make a profit from their betting, are looking to make a long-term profit. It's not the cheapest product out there, but it is I personally believe it is the best product out there, and we support each of our members on a one-to-one personal basis. So if you want to make a long-term profit, make sure you're on our daily newsletter. I'll let you know when the seats for the next free workshop are available, and then after that you can get access to Race Advisor Pro if you decide it is for you. Okay, that simulation is now finished. So I'm going to come out of it and come back in now by clicking on it again, and we can sort in order. And now this is really interesting. Just look at the silks here. Just look at the silks. Look at that flow. Notice that Chacun Pour Soi is not massively ahead of the others. Not like Honeysuckle was yesterday. We're not expecting this horse to be massively ahead. It is in the lead, but not massively. Then we've got Politolog, interestingly, next in line. Then First Flow, Silly House, Sco Royale, Noob Negro, put the kettle on much lower. And then we've got a bit of a jump back to Notebook Rouge Vive. Now, this is really interesting because we haven't really marked Politolog yet. And I would now consider that we need to look at Politolog again. There were certainly no negatives against Politolog. We've not had any big negatives against Politolog. So now we're looking at Chacun, Politolog, First Flow, Sco Royale, kind of, I'll put there. Put the kettle on had a few positives, but I would say we're now probably Chacun and First Flow. With then actually we've got a bunch here. We've got Politolog, Celios, Emery, Sco Royale, Noob Negra. Put the kettle on, all possible sitting there. This is open. This is open race. So how do we do it in this open race? Well, let's take a look at the horses first. Let's go and take a look at the horse history. So let's see what we can do here. Now, horse history is super important. Everyone should look at these. Now, remember, this race is, sorry, bear with me. This race is a chase turf, class 1 race, good to soft ground, 1 mile, 7 furlongs. The prize money is 168,000. So that's kind of roughly the class that we're looking at here as well. Now, coming in here, we can see we've got some high-class races here, a bit of a drop down at court, but otherwise high-class races based purely on prize money. Distances are a little bit longer than today. With 1 mile, 7 furlongs today, these are 2 miles, 1 furlong. So it's a couple of furlongs longer. Obviously, excellent strike rate here. Even in the 2 mile ones, we're pretty good, and all at high rate. Now, this is why this horse is going to be so short here. And we've got here, just looking at the in-running comments, we've got, track the leaders and then took over, chase the leader. I'm just looking for these keywords. Race third, took close order. And these keywords show this horse likes to be an early presser, which is going to be a good position in this race, early presser lead, and if he can get it. So obviously we've got that threat there. Now we're going to come and look at Politolog, who was the next kind of on that list that we just did. And scrolling down, we've got some nice high quality races recently. We've got most recently we beat them by 7 lengths, but came second. Oh, sorry, I do apologize. The last thing I didn't actually check here was the ground condition. And again, notice it was soft for Politolog. Hang on, I'm on the wrong horse. Where was I? On Chacun Pour Soi. Here we go. Right, the ground was soft here, soft to heavy, so it's going to not have an issue on the ground. Unlikely to have an issue over the distance. Now Politolog. Okay, also carrying less weight today than was last time out. Now here we've got Politolog. So last few races, we've got a couple here. We've got 1 mile, 7 furlong at Sandown, 1 mile, 7 furlong at Cheltenham at the 11th of March, where it won by 9.5 lengths. Soft ground, basically the same course as today. So this is a really good indication. Soft ground carrying 11.10 today. Politolog is carrying 11.10 again. And is being ridden today by Cobden. So again, a good rider, but not a rider who won at Cheltenham last time. Was won by Skelton last time, but did a good race there. Did a good race last time out at Ascot as well. Coming down, we got more 1 mile, 7 furlong races where we got beaten here by 18 lengths. So what happened? Got outpaced. Okay. Now this is interesting. Got outpaced here, led, hit the last, didn't have the extra prominent, got outpaced. Track the leaders, got outpaced. So we're seeing something here. Was unchallenged, won well. Made all, jump well. So if this horse gets outpaced, it's unlikely to win. So this is the danger for Politolog. Is it going to be outpaced? We've got this Cheltenham race down here. Came second, only beaten by Alshore by 1.75 lengths last year. So again, basically got outpaced in that 100 yards. This horse likes this track. It likes this course. I would say Politolog is a threat in this race. Okay, let's come on next to put the kettle on. Actually, yeah, well, we'll do put the kettle on. Let's see. Put the kettle on. Okay. In terms of class, definitely not as high. We've got a Cheltenham 98k race here back on the 10th of March. And we've got a Leopardstown Chase race here back on the 27th of December. Both of these, the Cheltenham race, 1 mile, 7 furlongs, won from Fakir by 1.5 lengths. Prominent headed out. Here. Thank you. Here, jumped well, made all, kept on strongly. We got this Cheltenham one here, raced well, led again. This horse likes to lead. This horse is unlikely to lead. If you remember when we looked at pace in this race, last time was beaten by 8 lengths by Chacun Pour Soi at Leopardstown. So a bit of a concern here by beaten by so much. So put the kettle on, just dropped in the opinion. Political just come up a little bit. Moving on, let's take a look at first flow. This is why looking at this is so important. Looking at first flow, again, ground's not going to be a problem. Distance, we can see at a glance that is not going to be a problem. Let's look at class, much lower classes here. Ascot race on the 23rd of January, won by 7 lengths. And actually, Politolog, interestingly, came next. Which was interesting. We could jump back to Politolog to see why, but Politolog was 7 lengths behind in January. But this was a slightly longer distance, 2 miles. And remember, Politolog particularly likes the Cheltenham course. We can see that, particularly likes this particular distance at Cheltenham on the ground the horse is going to get today. So looking good here. The only good to soft ground the horse performed much worse at Chepstow in a much lower class race. So maybe the slightly firmer ground, not so good for first flow. That's a possibility. Something we've got to be aware of. Otherwise, this horse has potentially got a class issue. It's making a massive jump in class today. Carrying 11.7 in most of these races today, carrying 11.10. Bit of a concern for me here. The two concerns for this horse is the class, and with that class, an increase of 3 pounds in weight as well, plus potentially not so hot on the ground. I'm just going to jump back very briefly to Politolog and see how we're looking at good to soft ground as well. See, good to soft ground down here, 2 miles, 5 furlongs, half a length. Good to soft coming back. So the horse has performed on good to soft ground, even in like slightly higher class races, 86k here. So that's fine. That was just what I wanted to check there. Okay, moving on. We also had Silly House Emery kept popping up. So let's have a quick look at this horse. Straight away, we can see soft ground that the horse has performed well on, heavy ground that the horse has performed well on, good to soft ground, not so good. Good to yielding ground, however, we've got. So possibly okay here. Over the distance, it's not done 1 mile, 7 furlong, but done 2 miles. And performed well, but race class is potentially, I mean, this obviously higher class than today, 265k at Cheltenham Hurdle, 2 miles, beaten by 9.5 lengths. That's kind of the only really high class race it's been in. There's 90k at Leopardstown here. It fell. This Cheltenham race back in 2017, long time was beaten by 16 lengths. So a bit of concern there. So at the moment, I'm favouring obviously Chacun and Politolog. Moving on to SCO Royale as well. Let's have a quick look. Thank you for those comments coming in. I can see them. I will come back to them all as well. The questions are great too. I will come back to all of them. So thank you. Please do keep posting the horses that you like, the ones that you're going to follow. Let me know as well if I've changed your mind while we've been doing this. Okay, SCO Royale. Here we go. Let's have a quick look down here. Soft ground. Good to soft, won by 2 lengths, but that was only a 26k race. Look at this. The Cheltenham 225 ground back at 11th of March. Over the same track today, soft ground, beaten by 45 lengths by Politolog. That's a massive concern. 11.10, and it just said it was just struggling. This horse chased the leaders and was just struggling. So nothing going really for this runner. So we got a bit of a concern here. There's nothing hugely saying that this horse, the horse can perform at the distance, but there's nothing giving much confidence it can perform at this distance, at this ground, at today's class. We do have this Cheltenham race in 2019, 13th of March last year, where it came third from Altior. So we can say this horse might be targeting this particular race. And then back in 2018, it didn't take place. but it did in 2017 in a big race, but 13 lengths. A lot of concern for this horse. The performance compared to the others, definitely not so good. So possibly one I will be passing on. Who else we got? Green Team, we've moved out because of odds. Rouge Vif wasn't much there either. Neither was No, but we'll have a quick look at Noob Negra, and then we're going to jump over to the market. Okay, Noob Negra. First of all, we noticed class prize money, really not much. 46k. The best is this IR race at 60k, or the highest, I should say, but was beaten 10 lengths. Kempton, 46k in December. Beat Altior by 3.5 lengths on soft ground, which is interesting to see, but was only carrying 11 stone, carrying 11.10 today. Huge difference today between the weight being carried there, and obviously we got the class increase, so this isn't going to be for me. So I'm going to stick here with Politolog, and Chacun seem to be the strongest for me in this race. Okay, I'm going to jump into how we can structure our bets, and I'm going to come back and going to look at who you're betting on, whether I've changed your mind, and any questions that you may have. So thank you for sticking with me here. Let's jump into that now. So let me bring up Betfair quickly. Let me hide Race Advisor Pro. Here we go. Here's the Betfair market. Remember that you can maximize your screen wherever you're watching this. You can click the little button on the video. You might have to hover over it or put your finger, tap it to be able to get that, to maximize it. And make sure you are streaming this at 1080 in the settings on the video on Facebook or YouTube, wherever you're joining me from today. Make sure you're doing this at 1080 HD, which is full quality. That means that the numbers won't be fuzzy on your screen. They'll be pin sharp. Okay, so here we go. Now Chacun dropped down to 1.88. Interestingly, now Politolog and Put the Kettle On are now both second favorite, 12.5. Noob Negra coming in third at 14.5. Then First Flow 17, jumping up a little bit there to First Flow. Sileus Emery coming in at 18.5. Sco Royale 19. Then we got the jump to Rouge Vif Notebook, and then another jump to Green Team. So actually, the favorite, second favorite are the ones that we like. Now, I've already said I don't like Chacun Pour Soi odds on. These odds to me seem too short, but Politolog at 12.5 looks like potentially a really good bet. Looking at the place market here, we can see Chacun is currently 1.33, Politolog 3.15. Now I'm going to jump into the each way market because it's always worth. We did this yesterday. Look at each way. They're paying a fifth of the odds for the three places. That means that Chacun is paying 1.34 for the place, the each way. If you bet the horse each way, you're getting the place, but also at 1.34. But also notice the back odds are currently 2.04. So there's only 15 grand max. This is going to change. But at the moment, in the win market, you're only getting 1.88 on Chacun. In the place market, you're getting 1.33. If you were to bet this horse in the each way market, you're going to get above evens on the horse in the win portion of the bet, and you're still going to get your 1.34, so actually slightly higher at the moment, in the place part of the bet. So actually at the moment, there's only 121 quid here, but at the moment, this is the place. If you want to do an each way on this horse, at the moment, the each way market is the one. You should always keep your eyes on the different markets and the way to bet, because actually getting odds of 2.04 over odds of 1.88 is massive, particularly if you want to bet the horse to place as well, because actually in the place market there is no difference currently. Okay, so just I thought I would point that out. Now the two place market, Chacun Pour Soi 1.46, Politolog 4.7. Now actually I think this race is super competitive, and I would be rather looking for more places in this particular case than less places. So in the four place market here, I mean, 1.26 is way too short for me, and Politolog, to be honest, at 2.32, even that's a bit short. But interestingly, Put the Kettle On is shorter than Politolog at the moment in this market. I think this will change, but that's currently kind of how it's sitting. Moving on to the without favorite market, Politolog currently 6.8, and Noob Negra is shorter. Again, 6.8. I think it's good odds for Politolog, and that's kind of basically like betting this horse in the two place market, because if you bet the horse in the two place market, obviously Politolog either needs to come first or second. If you bet the horse in the without favorite market, the horse obviously needs to come first or second, because if it comes second, then basically it's won the race without the favorite. If the favorite wasn't there, it's won the race as long as the favorite wins. it's won the race. So the odds should be a bit high, but the difference between 4.8 and 6.8 is big. So this is potentially a good race, but there is still a little bit of concern. Now, for me, this looks quite nice. We're going to do this again. I mean, Noob Negro, I don't think is going to beat Politolog, so we'll come back to that in a minute. Reverse forecast, I'm not confident enough in how far Shikun is going to win by. I mean, these are interesting. You can bet 2.1 here. So take a note of this, because you can bet 2.1 for Shikun not to win. But in the win market, you can lay this also at 1.9. So, here, I actually think Shikun is likely to drift out a bit. I think Politolog is likely to come down a bit. So for me at the moment, I like Politolog, and I quite like this here. Now, don't think I can do what I did yesterday. So yesterday what I did was I did a break-even bet here, and I can't remember. But you see here, I'm going to have to probably put in, let's see what we're going to have to put in, roughly £17 here. So this is kind of what this would look like as a break-even bet. You put £15 on Politolog, you're going to win 152 should the horse win. If Shikun wins instead, you're going to get the your break even there. That's a possible. You could potentially Dutch this race. There are a lot of issues, but again, Shikun's going to put the nail in the coffin there. I mean, if we were to Dutch, say, all the possibles, and I'm just going to jump all of these in here like this. And let's say we put a stake of 50, I don't know what that's going to be, like that across. You see, you can make £75 on any of these, but you're obviously going to lose Shikun here. You could kind of drop in. I don't know what you would need to drop in here. Maybe 60. Yeah, so kind of 50 or 60 to kind of skew that bet. 55 will probably give you about break even on Shikun. So, yeah, and you can see that. So that's kind of a Dutch bet across all these horses. And a break even on Shikun, but obviously you bet 100 quid, you're getting 20 back. That's a 20% return, not so bad, but for me, not in this race. Coming back to the place market, now I like Politolog here for the place market, 3.1. I would rather have him in this market here though, the 4 place market. But I don't like 2.32. I think that's too short. I think that's too short. And I would do an 80-20 bet probably here, which means that if you're betting £25, you would put kind of 20 quid here. You'd win £25 in this case, should the horse win. And you put the other 20% of your stake into the win market. So if I was to do that in the 4 place market, I would get whatever that was, 25 back there. If the horse came in the top 4, and obviously if it won, I'd make another 50 quid here. So if the horse only came in the top 4, we would make effectively a profit of £20. So I'd lose the £5 win. However, if I did that in the 3 place market instead, now look at this, the odds have just dropped here. Oh no, sorry, 3.1. I think that this is pretty decent. If I did that here, you see, I make £40 if Politolog comes in the top 3. And obviously the same in the win market. My concern about only going with Politolog is I think Shikun could win this race. I just don't think the odds justify the horse. So today I'm going to structure my bet slightly differently, because I do think Shikun can win the race. I don't think there's much value in Politolog going for 4 places. So I'm going to go for the 3 place market here. I'm going to go for the 20 quid here. If we're doing a £25 bet, I'll do for the £25 here. That will get matched at some point. Obviously, it's already dropped down because I think these odds are too high. I also think this horse is going to drop in the win market, and I think Shikun's probably going to drift a bit. Will be my guess. I'm going to put a £5 on here. So that's the £25 stake, just as a £25 stake, split 80-20, for example. But I'm also going to have another look at this AVB market. To do that, let me jump you back over to Race Advisor Pro and the Monte Carlo simulator. I'm going to do this, then I'm going to come into the chat. I'm going to see what you've put in there, answer any questions, see who you're following, get your selections. And if you've got selections for everyone else here for the rest of the day, drop those in as well. Obviously, we're looking at this feature race. If you have selections that you want to share with others that you're following in the rest of Cheltenham, please do drop those in today, or even in the races not happening at Cheltenham. There are other races that will possibly have much better opportunities because everyone's focusing on Cheltenham. So just coming back over here, I want to do this test between this simulation between Noob Negra and Politolog, because we already know we like Politolog. So I'm just eliminating all those horses. I'm going to jump into the Monte Carlo simulator here. And I'm just going to rerun the simulation, just using standard defaults for this time. If you're a Race Advisor Pro member, and you're using the Monte Carlo simulator, I recommend that you use difference from top ratings. That will make sense if you're a Race Advisor Pro member. They are the most effective to use in the Monte Carlo simulator. So let's let this simulation run. While it runs, I'm going to start coming through some of your messages on, see who you are betting. So, right, let's have a quick look. So, Graham, morning. Thank you for sharing this. Bob Ollinger in the first, Monkfish in the second as the double, and then first flow in the champion. Chase, those are your bets so far. Are they still your bets, Graham? Interesting that you've gone with first flow. Do you still like first flow? Let me know. Let's go with that. Coming on to Michael. Thank you so much for sharing this, Michael. Put the kettle on has been chosen by two of your expert system builder systems. First flow has been chosen by one of them. When Michael refers to the expert system builder, that is the system builder within Race Advisor Pro, which I'll show another day on a live stream, but that is the system builder. It is, in my biased opinion, the best system builder on the market. It works in the way nothing else does, and Michael's systems in there have chosen that. Don't forget, you make sure you're on our daily newsletter, raceadvisor.co.uk/join-RA. Make sure you're on that daily newsletter. I open Race Advisor Pro for new members once a month. You must join me or register for the free horse racing success workshop that happens once a month. To be able to get access to Race Advisor Pro. I will let you know a few days before I hold it so that you can register for the seats. You must register there to get access to Race Advisor Pro. So please make sure you register on that Horse Racing Success Workshop. Thank you for sharing that, Michael. Okay, that simulation has finished, and then I'm going to come back into the chat in a minute. So opening up that simulation, let's see who came out ahead. Now, as expected, Politolog came out, but what I'm interested in here is I'm interested in the probabilities, because it put Politolog at odds of 1.67 with nearly a 57% chance of winning, and it put New Neighbor at nearly a 37% chance of winning with odds of 2.6. So 1.67, 2.6 with Politolog looking to be significantly better. Now, I'm just going to jump this over here because coming back to Betfair, people don't use this market. We were talking about this yesterday. People don't use this market. And at the moment, Politolog's sitting at 1.83. 1.83 is a 55%, nearly 55% chance of winning the race. Remember, we've given this a 56% chance of winning the race. So there's a little bit of advantage here. And we're given 2.6, odds of 2.6 to New Negro. So New Negro is currently way too short, and we're thinking that Politolog is actually really too high. So I'm going to drop a little bet on here as well. And New Negro is definitely more of a threat than we had yesterday, I think. So we got, I want to have less risk here than yesterday. So maybe let's go for, I don't know, what we do, 15 quid bet, for example. If we stake 25, probably about 50% of that roughly would be a good risk here on this. But we think Politolog will beat Noob Negra in this race. My concern here is that if Politolog has a bad race, if you remember, the chances are he's going to just drop out. So that's the danger in this bet. That's where the risk is in this bet, more than we had when we did it yesterday. So I'm a little bit on the fence, to be honest, about whether to go with this bet or not. I would kind of like to get slightly higher odds here on Politolog, if I'm honest. And we can see that actually this is what other people are saying as well. Because you've got people sitting here at 1.99, and if I could get evens on this horse, that would be a bet I would probably go bigger on. So actually, I'm probably going to drop in some money here at around. Don't forget, you can ask. You can ask for money as well. I'm going to drop in maybe something around 1.89 here, something like that, just to sit below this 1.9 and see if we can get matched. There's only £239 currently matched here anyway. So do you know what? I'm going to go for the 1.9. I'm going to kind of sit in there. Actually, do you know what? I'm going to go for 1.92. Just sit above that there. I'm going to drop that in and see if I can get matched on that. You see that 15 quid just dropped into the market there. So I'm just going to see if we can get matched on that as a bit of a fun bet, because I think that will be offering me really, really nice value. Okay, so just as a quick summary, we think this is super competitive. We think Shakun's the horse that is going to be a threat, but actually the odds don't represent the danger from other horses. We think Politolog odds are looking pretty good at 13, and I've done that as a 80-20 bet. So I put 20% of the stake to win, 80% of the stake to place, and I've just done a bit of a fun bet. I'm still currently sitting here not completely matched. at 3.1, which is good odds, but I will take lower because 3.1 I think was very good for this horse to place. And I've just done a small fun bet on the AVB market. Both of these are a bit of fun. AVB market on Politolog to beat Noob Negra if I can get matched at higher odds. So let's see if we do. Okay, now I'm going to come back over to the questions, see who you're following. I'm going to go through them in order. I'm going to answer any questions. I'm going to see who you want to follow. If you've got any other tips for other people, please do share them. So let's see what we've got here. Coming down, Humphrey's gone on, put the kettle on each way. Thank you for that, Humphrey. Coming down, Ben, you've gone for Politolog in the place market. Have you gone for the 2 place, the 3 place, the 4 place, or maybe you're getting more places at bookmaker? I know some are offering 5 and 6. So do that. Remember to always search for where you can get the best. If you can bet with the bookmakers, get the best odds you can. Always look at the different markets like we did today, because you can find opportunities in a different market for basically the same bet in a different way, but will pay you out more if it wins. Graham is saying he thinks Chacun has a question over liking the track at Cheltenham. So we're kind of on a similar path, Graham. We think that maybe there are a couple of question marks for Chacun that puts those short odds a bit higher. Scott's going for Noob Negra as well, but for kind of a small fun brand. Ian is saying too short, but Easy Land is your banker for the meeting. Easy Island, I think that is your banker for the meeting. Ed is going for an each way on put the kettle on. Thank you very much, Ed. Thank you for sharing that. Ed's each way put the kettle on. Humphrey saying biggest concern for Chacun is he's never run on the track. Again, some confirmations here of some possible doubts over Chacun's ability to run on this track, and that's one of the reasons I like Politolog. I'm probably going to be proven. Politolog's probably going to fall at the first now, and you know, and Chacun's going to steam ahead by like 90 lengths, but we'll see. Chacun is a borderline lay horse. This is really interesting, Philippe, thank you for sharing this. Absolutely, I would actually agree with you, Philippe. I would say Chacun is a borderline lay horse actually at the current odds. Borderline lay horse. I would agree. Dandy Cat, first flow each way at a good price. And you're also going to consider what I'm doing, which is that 20-80 or 80-20 split. Danny going for put the kettle on. Thank you very much. Join RA. This is where you can make sure you're on our daily newsletter, where you get my emails each day or every couple of days. And I will let you know here when I'm holding the next free horse racing success workshop webinar. You need to join that to be able to get access to Race Advisor Pro, because Race Advisor Pro only opens once a month at the moment to make sure that I have the time to personally support every new member who comes in, to make sure they're up to speed, they're up to running. Because when you join Race Advisor Pro, I want you to be profitable. That is my only focus, is to make you long-term profitable, and I want you to do that, and I want you to learn how to use our tools in a way that will enable you to do that. Philippe is going each way for put the kettle on. There's a lot of put the kettle on here. It's very popular in the each way. Dandy Cat says you closed the list 3 months ago. So to join Race Advisor Pro, Dandy Cat, go to raceadvisor.co.uk/join-RA. You will get an email from me about the Horse Racing Success Workshop. It is a free workshop. You can come and join it. In that workshop, I go through how I teach how Race Advisor works, how we make you long-term profitable. And at the end of that workshop, I open up spaces to Race Advisor Pro for the people who came to that workshop or who registered for that workshop. So you need to make sure you register for that workshop if you want to get access to Race Advisor Pro, because it's really important, because it shows how I teach and how we train to make sure that actually we are the right fit for you, that I am the right fit for you, that the Race Advisor is the right fit for you. That's why it's really important that you join that workshop. I will let you know, as long as you're on our newsletter, our daily newsletter, I'll let you know when that next free workshop is. Make sure you register, and then you'll get the opportunity to join Race Advisor Pro. Humphrey, question: Monte Carlo and raced with my race card. I call it RD Overview. Should you do the standard as well, or any different? So Humphrey, when you're looking at the Monte Carlo simulator in Race Advisor Pro, you're best to use difference from top ratings. You want between 5 to 10 ratings. And if you want a summary, you want something from class, you want something from form, you want something from speed, and possibly connections if you follow connection data. Pardon me. That's the best card to make. Using the standard race card is fine. It will give you a good overview, but to get best results, use difference from the top. Okay. Slade. Today's distance is pretty much 2 miles. Yeah, you're right. It is pretty much 2 miles. You're absolutely right, Slade. Thank you for actually clarifying that, because I was talking about the difference between 2 miles and 1 mile 7 furlongs, but there's kind of 199 yards anyway, so we're talking about 21 yards difference. Dandy, Politolog has always struck me as a horse that would be better over 2.5 miles rather than 2. Okay, you may well be right, Dandy. You may well be right. Slade's giving us his selections here. First flow, each way choice. A bit worried about the going. As First Flow seems to prefer softer, that's kind of what we found later as well, and can be a bit erratic on jumps, but has good stamina. So again, there's the risk, and this is when bet structure becomes so important, because we're looking at this, like what Slater said here. He likes First Flow, he's got each way, but these are the concerns. And then you go and you look at the market, and you see what the odds are, and you determine whether the risk is worth the odds that you are getting. And then you look at all the markets available and see where you think the best risk is. It's super important. You can make a massive difference like that. Okay. Keep going. Dandy Cat and my Dutching. Here we go. Dandy Cat. Nichols horse each way 80-20. That's who's going for Foster. So Foster 990 asked, who will I go with for the first race? Have you got any suggestions? And your suggestions from Dandy Cat Foster is, sorry, not that one, is the Nichols horse each way 20-80 split. There we go. Graham still likes First Flow, but Political is of interest and still doesn't like Chacon. George Hyde going for Monkfish today. I'm not sure which race that's in, George. Let people know, please. Michael, a great example of searching for bookmakers. Thank you for sharing this, Michael. So Michael, always searching around booking. Michael is a RA Pro member, Race Advisor Pro member. He was talking in our Pro members Facebook group, our Pro members community, about how he got he's based in Australia. He placed a bet on a UK race where the bookies were giving the horse at 5-1. I think it was 5-1 or 6-1. But he got it from his Australian booker at 200-1. Same horse, different bookmaker, 200-1. That's just an amazing example of how bookmakers get it wrong. Like, bookmakers get it wrong sometimes. That's just one example. This is why you should look at bookmakers. He got odds of 200-1 on a horse that was being offered at around 5-1 everywhere else. And that horse won, I believe. I believe that horse won as well. So really, really a great example there. George is going for Bob Onilga in the first race. Scott's saying, keep an eye on the times yesterday were pretty quick. The track's speeding up. And then that means that the recent form isn't going to mean so much because the tracks are getting faster. Very good point from Scott there. If the track does speed up over the course of these days, if it's speeding up today, then actually the more recent form on the softer ground isn't going to be as important. George likes First Flow. Okay. So I'm just going to come to the last two questions there. Then I'm going to thank you very much. Humphrey's just asking, Humphrey, great question. Possibly best to ask that in the Race Advisor Pro community group. So come over there, ask that question there. I'll jump in and answer it for you, so that the people who are Race Advisor Pro members, I'm not answering just the RA Pro stuff here. Ben is asking, can members put up a video post of how we work together or software? Absolutely, Ben. We have a private members Facebook group. In that private Facebook group, you can share videos, messages, whatever you like. I put videos in there regularly of things that I'm doing. So drop them in there. Drop them in that group. Share what you are doing. I cannot say I'm a massive fan of sharing what you're doing, both for our Race Advisor Pro members and not, because sharing what you're doing is the quickest way to learn yourself, because you share with people, people share with you. You take stuff together, you progress, and actually then everybody moves forward, everybody gets better, and everybody gets better quicker. Sharing this whole thing around horse racing, where I shouldn't share what I'm doing because someone's going to steal it, is generally speaking not the case, because actually the next person's not going to do it the same as you. They're not going to do it the same as you, and actually what they'll do is they'll give you ideas back. So I'm a big fan of sharing. So do share. Please share what you're doing in our Facebook group or whatever. Okay, so I'm going to just say thank you so much for joining me today. Again, if you want to join Race Advisor Pro, as I say, we are not the cheapest by any stretch of the imagination, and we are focused very much on making you a profitable bettor. We are looking to help people who seriously want to make a profit from their betting to become long-term profitable, become long-term bettors, and who are prepared to kind of think outside the box, change the way they're doing to actually make that jump to profit. And if that's you, then Race Advisor Pro is most likely going to suit you down to the earth. We open it, I currently open it, access to it once a month to enable me to work with new members one-on-one to get you up to speed, to help you find the right strategies, to help you adapt strategies to suit you. To join, you must be on our daily newsletter, where I send an email out every day, every couple of days. That's at raceadvisor.co.uk/join RA. If you head over there, drop in. If you came from an email you received today, you're probably already on our newsletter. But if you get the daily emails from me, you're in the right place. If you're not, head over there. Make sure you're on that newsletter. I will send out an email about the horse racing success workshop a few days before it starts, so that you have a chance to register for seats. Please make sure you register for those seats. If you want to have a chance of joining Race Advisor Pro, it's really important, because in that free workshop, I go through how I teach, my philosophy, the Race Advisor philosophy, and all the tools and software that's available inside Race Advisor Pro. So it's really important you join that horse racing success workshop. It's really important you register for it. And then at the end of the workshop, I open up a few spaces for Race Advisor Pro to join. And then obviously I spend the next few weeks helping you come in and everything else. So please make sure you are on that list if you're on our daily newsletter and you register for that workshop when you get the email, if you're interested in joining Race Advisor Pro. Apart from that, I say thank you so much for joining me today. Make sure you join me tomorrow, 11 a.m. We're going to be doing the same thing tomorrow and on Friday, 11 a.m. Put it in your diary. We're going to be going through the feature race each day of the Cheltenham Festival. Please make sure you join me. It's been absolutely awesome to have you here. Thank you so much. My name is Michael Wilding. This is the Race Advisor. Thank you for joining me, and I will see you tomorrow. Have an excellent day racing at Cheltenham today, and I will see you in the morning.